Hi, everybody. It's Karol Clark here, and on behalf of HealthWise and Weight Loss Practice Builder, I am excited to bring to you the top 10 strategies for building an engaged and productive team. It is noon here on the East Coast, and we want to get started right on time so we can stick to our 30-minute time frame. And I am so excited to have so many of you on this webinar. I want to thank you for attending, and then once again, thank HealthWise for providing this for you. And I'm excited about the fact that these strategies I'm going to share work for any size organization, any age employees, whether you have millennials or baby boomers or anywhere in between. The strategies are low cost or no cost, and they are tried and true. I have used these for the past, I hate to admit it, 30 years or nearly 30 years of my career. And I've used them as a hospital administrator, practice administrator, both for large and small practices. And as you likely know, I am just like you. I'm in the trenches running a practice here in Newport News, Virginia. If you haven't tried, I just have to say this is unsolicited on HealthWise's part, but if you haven't tried their new salted caramel protein crisps, they are so good. They only have 5 carbs, 16 grams of protein, and 130 calories, so a great option for your patients. And the best thing is they taste really good. So putting a little plug in there, unsolicited by them, but they are really yummy. I love that there's always something new coming out for us to share with our patients. I was wondering, when it comes to your employees, do you ever feel like this? This is a miserable way to have to come into work every day, to have kind of like feeling, I know there's going to be some employee issues, and trying to help, always feeling like you're on the defensive versus the proactive, and having to spend time on things that end up being what you feels like sort of a waste of your time, but it takes up so much of your day. You want to be doing all the fun things that help keep your practice advancing forward, not having to worry about all the day-to-day potential management of, sometimes it seems like, adolescents in your practice. We want to have very productive and outgoing and innovative and excited employees working for us. So let's get to how to do that. Sometimes I'll talk to practices, and one of the biggest concerns when people come in is they have high staff turnover, lack of progress on their projects, a lot of negativity. You know, those employees that can take a new employee and kind of chew them up and spit them out so that they end up leaving before you have a chance to develop them or work on keeping them as a quality part of your team. Frequent tardiness, just can't get to work on time. They have recurring illnesses, missed work, poor initiative or no motivation, lack of confidence or ownership. It seems like they bring something up and they get shot down by other employees or just by the company culture, and they just feel like, what's the point? Why should I bring it up again? And as you know, your team is your greatest asset, and having a wonderful team in place actually makes your job easier. So we're going to go through how to do just that and get you feeling a little bit more like this. Wouldn't you rather feel like this? I have to say, sometimes I'll have people who come to visit, and every day is not perfect here, but I'll have people come to visit as a site visit here. We do those frequently. And they'll say, what do you do to incentivize your employees to be so loyal and to go above and beyond what's expected of them? And the reality is, I don't incentivize them. What I do is I practice these 10 strategies very diligently. So let's get to it. Our goals for today is to stay on time, and I know your time is valuable, and to share actionable information that you can begin using right away today. But before I do that, you might be wondering, who's Karol Clark and why the heck should I listen to anything that she has to say? I happen to be, like I say, in the trenches just like you. We have a 10,000 square foot facility here in Newport News, Virginia, and we have a large fitness center, full-size fitness center, educational classroom, a large nutritional store, clinical area. We do medical weight loss, surgical weight loss, fitness, and nutrition. And over time, we've had a lot of people come through and want to duplicate what it is that we've developed here. And so, as you know, a facility is just a facility. It's your people and your patients inside that make it magic. But we're going to talk a bit about that. But since I've had so many people ask me questions about how we do different things, I've actually also written a few books on that. They've all been #1 bestsellers on Amazon. How to Add Medical Weight Loss to Your Practice, The 5 Profit Engines of a Successful Bariatric Surgery Practice, how to create a best-selling book. There's also some marketing books. I have a chapter in There's Money in This Book, which is all marketing related. And Build to Grow is a book I wrote with some colleagues that really relates to the C-suite executive and how to advance their organizations. My chapter in there happens to be on building effective wellness programs so that your patients, or not your patients, but so that your staff feel their best and then perform their best. So that's just some of the things that I've done that, and each one of these actually, I always focus on how to build that team because your team is so important. I wanted to talk just a little bit as well about statistics and trends. Did you know that a Gallup poll shows that 70% of Americans are disengaged at work? That is just crazy to me because if people are disengaged, 70% of them, they are not producing at their highest level. They're not as satisfied as what they could and should be. And they're more likely to switch jobs much more frequently. You hate it when you invest all this time and energy into developing somebody and they are a star performer and then they end up jumping ship. So we're going to talk a little bit about what people value at work, and that's going to help guide why developing these strategies is so important. So a recent Gallup poll showed the top reasons for that employees reported makes a great workplace. And as I read through these, you might be thinking, it's kind of woo-woo. People don't really care about that. All they care about is money. But the truth of the matter is, especially with millennials, they do value being challenged at work. They do value having projects that they enjoy. They value positive feedback. And here's the things that were identified as the highest items. I know what is expected of me, so setting up those expectations right from the beginning. I have the tools to do what is expected. In the last 7 days, I have received praise for doing good work. My supervisor cares about me as a person. There was someone at work who encourages my development. At work, my opinion seems to count. The purpose of my company makes me feel my job is important. My fellow employees are committed to doing quality work. In the last 6 months, someone has talked to me about my progress, and I have opportunities to learn and grow. Now, granted, the last one probably has something to do with some salary-wise, but most of those have nothing to do necessarily with salary. So what can you do to create an ideal team in your practice? So I'm going to share with you the top 10 strategies that have worked over time, are tried and true, and we'll get into those right now. The first one is to implement better hiring processes. And for me, I think the best place to find employees truly is word of mouth. When we have an open position, which fortunately is not very often, we go out there and we search. We will post it within Facebook. We'll contact local other offices. Each one of us as employees here, and those of us that are the leaders, ask around. We try to get them mostly from word of mouth. It tends to be the best way to get some new employees. When they are interviewed, we actually share very clearly what the expectations are of their position. We also utilize a contract versus a job description because that way they can understand how important it is that they're contracting with us to do that optimal job. When we're interviewing, we actually have the staff who are going to be working mostly with that person also participate in the interviews. It helps as they're being onboarded. It helps with buy-in. It helps with just, becoming a part of that whole decision. It makes it better for everybody. We also focus on customer service depending on the position. I know for clinical positions you can't do this as much, but I will much prefer to hire somebody with great customer service skills than I would somebody with other qualifications or that sort of thing. Customer service is so key for us that I can train them on most everything else. We'll oftentimes have them shadow for a day or a half day, and we outline their whole orientation for an onboarding procedure that's very smooth so they know what to expect each day. The staff are involved in that orientation. We also make sure we do have a 90-day orientation or probationary period. This is where we're trying each other on for size, so to speak, and identifying whether or not they really are a good addition to your team, because it's often best to kind of set them free and do yourself and them a favor early on if you feel as if that connection is not being made, or you don't think they're going to be a positive addition to the team. And also frequently checking in with them during that entire onboarding process is really very, very critical. Clearly communicating your vision may sound like, oh, that's kind of, kind of pie in the sky. Who does that? But coming from the physician, it means so much to the employee. So from the physician is awesome. And making sure that you communicate exactly not only what your goals are for your patients and staff, but really the whole feel of your office and what's most important in terms of your priorities and in terms of what it is that you value in your practice. Also, having them go through the entire process as a patient is really helpful. And then asking for their feedback. A lot of times when you're real close to your delivery system for care, you miss out on all the little things that might not be sitting well with your patients. So you want to make sure that you have them kind of participate as a patient and go through your classes, go through your educational process, go through some visits, view a surgery. Those sorts of things are important. And like I say, welcoming their feedback. We do use a contract versus a job description. It just makes it seems a little bit more formal, but it actually also shares what that true vision, what it is that's expected of all employees, and what is specifically expected for someone in their particular position. Also, having a clear employee handbook that you give to them and having them sign that they received it are all really things that help to clearly communicate what your vision is and what the expectations are. The third thing you can do is role model your desired behavior. And so you want to be sort of a mirror image for what you want them to, how you want them to perform. So making sure they're orienting with people who do have the desired behavior that are going to be able to role model that is really important. And it's one of those things that is more important than many of us may understand. And a lot of times the physician or the administrator, they kind of steer clear of the interaction with the overall staff, but it's really important for them to see you. It's really important for them to see you role modeling the behavior that you want them to do. So it's kind of like be the change you wish to see in the world. From Gandhi, it's just that important. So role modeling your desired behavior, whether it's telephone etiquette, whether it's interactions with patients, how to handle any concerns patients have, those sorts of things are really, really important. So you role model the desired behaviors and also the staff that you have orienting them role modeling the desired behavior. The fourth thing is to understand what your employees value most. We just went through a number of them that came out in a Gallup poll, but we tend to meet with our employees once a year and we ask them 4 primary questions. The first one is, what are their top 3 frustrations with their position? And then the second one is, how would they solve those top frustrations? What are their suggestions that they have? The third one is, where do you want to be 1 year from now? And then where do you want to be 5 years from now? Employees need to know that you genuinely care about how they feel about their job and also their future. And you want to know all that because you want to help develop them. Even if their goal is something that's not going to fit in with your practice, having them know that you care and you're supporting them along the way helps them want to perform at their highest level with your organization. And oftentimes it helps increase their likelihood of staying and having lower turnover, which is a cost savings, as you know, to everybody. The fifth thing, as I just mentioned, is to support their growth. If there's something that they feel they need for their position, a new skill set, look into different classes or courses or online webinars they can participate with. Get them the information that they need in order to support their growth within your organization. It will mean more to them than you ever realize. And it's one of those things that they value, and they oftentimes will increase their loyalty to you and to your practice and to everything about what it is that your practice stands for to your patients than if they felt unsupported in terms of their growth. The next thing is to assign outcomes instead of tasks. As this picture shows, building a bridge, you don't have to tell them every detail of where everything needs to go. I used to be much more of a micromanager, and what I found is that I get so much farther. The whole practice gets farther. I'm happier. The staff are happier if I actually assign outcomes instead of the tasks and the step-by-step how to do something. I just had somebody here for a site visit recently, and we were talking about this very concept, and we were both sharing examples. One of them, I know we had a change in how some of our medications had to be administered for the Board of Pharmacy. And instead of me outlining, my old self would have outlined everything, set up the whole process, done all the paperwork, everything that needed to get done. Instead, I gave the outcome to a staff member. They owned it. They created the process. All I had to do was tweak it. It made it so much easier for me, and it had such an increased buy-in from them. And they did a great job and came up with things that I likely wouldn't have come up with because they are the frontline people doing this every single day. The person who was here for a site visit came up with an example as they were doing a little bit of facility planning. She felt compelled to outline and to design all of where they were going to put everything in their workspace. And she ended up letting them design their own workspace and put, things where it needed to be. And they enjoyed their space that much more. So assigning an outcome instead of a task is really helpful. And I know it's great to have processes in place, and I'm a process person just like none other. But oftentimes, if you delegate some of these things, you can actually get more projects completed, more buy-in, less time of your involvement, and you actually can have that big picture where you need to be in order to just tweak it to make sure that it's truly meeting the outcome that you need. The seventh thing is not to be afraid to prune your team. As you know, just with plants and trees, when you prune, new growth occurs. The tree actually can get healthier. It actually can create more of coverage. It's just one of those things that grows once you prune a little bit. Sometimes you're going to have employees that just aren't a good fit, and you may need to set them free. And sometimes doing that, even though you put it off and put it off and put it off, because it's not pleasant, but you have enough documentation, you're following your processes, don't be afraid to set that person free. Every time I've delayed this process, I've regretted it. And what happens is it holds the team down. They start to think you have a double standard because you're tolerating behavior from one employee that you don't tolerate from others, or they start to think that's acceptable behavior. And a lot of times it's just not a good fit for that person. They could fit in much better in another organization. So don't be afraid to prune your team, to let go of those people that tend to be bringing the team down and are not helping your situation, helping your practice, building everything up. So don't be afraid, like I say, to prune your team. What you'll find is you'll get newfound growth, and you'll be able to take your practice to higher levels because of the fact that you will take that sort of workplace toxicity out of the workplace and be able to bring in someone much more supportive and much more loyal. The eighth thing is to set clear expectations and communicate regularly. And I don't mean dictating. Setting clear expectations starts, like I say, before you even hire the person, and having your employee contract or job description, whichever you choose to use, and communicating regularly. And I don't just mean through written documents and emails. Having regular staff meetings is helpful. You do want to keep them as brief as possible, and you do want to spend about 70% of the time having them talking and presenting ideas, and about 30% of the time you setting out like dictates, things that are changing, things that are going on. Use this more as a brainstorming session. Involve them, include them, and utilize their knowledge and their expertise in the field that they are in. So setting those clear expectations and communicating regularly is so valued by employees. They want to be heard. The ninth one is to recognize contributions. And this doesn't mean that you have to recognize with a lot of money or huge events. You can do this just through little things. I know when staff here do something that and I frequently do this, I'll write a little note, and you don't even realize it, but before I'll go out there and I'll notice that at their workplace, they've saved almost every single note I've ever written to them. It could be a card, it could be a note, it could be just a public thanks in front of a patient. But being fair and recognizing true contributions, not just, it's not like some sort of a sports league for for young ones where everyone gets a trophy. It's one of those things where you recognize the contributions of others. Make sure it's a significant, or even significant or small, whatever they're doing. If they're doing something well, recognize it. You will actually find that that's what grows. And lastly, demonstrating integrity, fairness, and honesty. I know I shouldn't have to bring this up, but really showing that integrity, fairness, and honesty, show them that you sincerely care about them. You may think, I don't have time for that. That's a nice thing to have. But especially when your key employees and your quality employees, everyone's going to have struggles, and they need to know that you care about them and that you are treating all of them fairly, that you're honest in your responses to them and any questions that they have, and that you practice what you preach and you have integrity. You follow through on what it is that you say you're going to do. Those are the things that people remember. I know anytime I've ever left a position, I've always done a survey, and I've asked, what it was that I did really well, what were the things that frustrated them that I could use improvement on. And I do that all to myself, but one of the things I always get back is that people knew that I cared about them and that I was fair to everyone. And I'm somewhat of a rule follower. So, and I'm honest. So those things came out, and that people really, really value that. So making sure that you're demonstrating that is truly critical. So we talked about a number of different things: better hiring processes, clearly communicating your vision, being a role model for the desired behavior that you have, understanding what your employees value most, supporting their growth, assigning outcomes instead of tasks. That's a big one. Not being afraid to prune your team, setting clear expectations and communicating regularly, recognizing those contributions, the big or small ones, just little ways to recognize them. It may be just a small gift that you put on everybody's desk in the morning. It might be just a note that you write. It might be a quick little email, anything that helps recognize the contributions that they have. And then lastly, demonstrating integrity, fairness, and honesty, basically showing them that you really care and sort of walking the walk and talking the talk. So I hope this has served you well. You may think, oh, those are some common sense things, but these are things that people do not consistently provide in their practice. And it truly makes a world of difference. So now I wanted to open it up to questions in case anyone has some questions. Feel free I'm going to open up the chat lines. That's been open, and I'm also going to open up so you're unmuted. If anyone has any questions, bring them up now. I usually end up getting lots of questions. So not too many questions today. If you have them, put them out there, or you can email me, Karol, Karol, at weightlosspracticebuilder.com, and I will respond quickly. And I also wanted to share with you, there's an upcoming presentation with HealthWise, July 31st, 2019, how to become a recognized expert in your field and attract more patients with the best-selling book. I'm going to share my secrets for getting that book out of your head and into the hands of your prospective patients, and actually ramping up your business card and helping to build more referrals, more patients coming through your door, and then also more patient referrals. So becoming that recognized expert can be a huge thing. There's also additional resources at healthwisenri.com, and I've got a lot of them at weightlosspracticebuilder.com for you. So feel free to go there. Make sure you go there and download those free resources to how to build your weight loss practice. And lastly, if you want to reach out to me, there it is, Karol at weightlosspracticebuilder.com. Happy to help in any way. And if you're not a member yet, I've got Bariatric Business Boss. It's a membership site that all the details are at bariatricbusinessboss.com. It is just a wealth of information, tools that you get every single month, training, recipes, lots of stuff that you can customize to your own practice and share that out. It's one of those things that's lots of fun, and I love working with the practices through this membership site and one-on-one. So if there's nothing else, I am going to say farewell, and I will be back on the 31st with the other webinar. And I hope all of you have a great day. Thanks so much for all you do for all your patients. And once again, if you need anything, Karol, Karol, at Weight Loss Practice Builder. Thanks to HealthWise for bringing this to everybody who's on the call today and all those that get to listen to it later. Once again, take care. And I wish you nothing but success now and always. Bye bye.